The Fed letter was prompted by recent news announcements over the last 3 years. There have been several companies that announced they were going to set up new assembly plants and build them in Mexico. And I've concentrated on analysis of U.S. and Canadian data over the years and looked at Mexico off and on. And I figured, and there wasn't just one, there was 2, 3, 4 in a row in the span of about a year and a half. And I thought it's time to look at this. And in fact, Jim Rubenstein, my co-author, and I, this represents joint work. So, and we did and started digging around the data, and we found some really interesting things, we think. Well, the major finding is that Mexico's growing role within North America as a production location has been driven almost exclusively by growing exports from Mexico. Vehicles that are produced in Mexico and are being exported outside of Mexico for sale elsewhere. The game changer from Mexico's perspective was the ratification and agreement of NAFTA, because at that point Mexico became, over a course of about 10 years, fully integrated with the two countries to the north. And that really was a game changer in terms of how you would then, as an international vehicle producer, treat your plants in Mexico. What's unusual about Mexico is that it has the largest share of its production go to exports. Last year was 83% of all light vehicles made in Mexico that were exported, were not for sale within Mexico. And that's the highest share in the world. And that they can achieve this without having a Mexican-based car maker driving this. If you look at by units, Mexico in terms of volume, that's 2.3 or some million units exported last year. That's fourth place globally, behind countries such as the other three are Germany, Japan, and South Korea. And all of those have national champion car makers. Hyundai and Kia in Korea. Japan, there's a number of them, Honda, Nissan, Toyota, just to name the big ones. In Germany, you have VW as the largest producer, and several others. But in Mexico, there is none like that. So that part, exporting per se is not unusual, but to have that large of a share, and yet not have a Mexican-owned and operated car maker as a private sector company behind this, that is quite unusual. There are several. Over the years, what has remained the same is Mexico tends to be a low labor cost production location, and that's been the case for a long time. Now, as the country has opened up and has become integrated with the US and Canada, the car makers themselves start to run their production system on a more global basis. For example, Ford Motor Company, when they launched a car named Ford Fusion in North America in 2006, they started producing it exclusively in Mexico. They have a plant in Hermosillo, Mexico, and it's been produced ever since in Mexico for the entire North American market. So my point is, from Ford's perspective or from any other car maker that's in Mexico, they run Mexico like it's a production location that's integral to their global operations. It's not something that is driven only by conditions in Mexico. Yeah, and it's particular to markets outside of NAFTA, Central and South America. Mexico is a unique platform if you want to ship your product from there to, let's say, Costa Rica or to Chile or to Argentina or to Brazil, because they've been going all out pursuing this free trade policy. And there's a little footnote in the article that states that actually they've been so successful in exporting to, I believe, Argentina and Chile, that those two countries needed to reach agreements with Mexico to put a lid on the number of vehicles that they're willing to import from Mexico over the next 3 years, just to take a breather here. Yes. So what factors are possibly unique about furthering Mexico's success as an export platform? There is something about the geography, and here's how it goes. If you, for example, are GM or Ford and are already producing in the United States or in Canada, And then the question is, well, is there something that I would like to move into Mexico? So your calculus then goes such as, okay, on the cost-benefit side, I would trade for lower labor cost, but on the negative side, I would make up for this with having higher transportation costs because my largest markets are not in Mexico. So whatever I make there for consumption in the U.S., for sale in the U.S. or Canada, I have to ship for longer distances if I were to make it in the U.S. or in Canada. So that's the trade-off there. However, if you're coming to Mexico, or if you're thinking of coming to Mexico as a producer from Europe or from Japan, the calculus is quite different. And the advantages of Mexico are furthered. It's not just the low labor cost, but also the exchange rate question, which at the moment is extremely advantageous compared to both Europe and Asia. So the geography then helps, because then the calculus is, well, what's my production cost in Japan? And in addition to that, I have an enormously long distance I have to cover. If I'm right next door to where I want to sell a fair amount of my product, then the numbers flip very strongly in one direction, and that's what we're seeing at the moment.